Hi, everyone. I had to clap for myself because I thought Shadia was describing somebody else. Well, I'm with Temi. She just described. I'm that conservation planner that hopes to go around the world, conserving landscapes, restoring degraded areas, changing lives. And in the past 6 months, the World Forestry Center have given us all these field tours that have served as my classroom and augment my skill as a conservation planner. I start with Nigeria. So let me share with you my conservation plan for the landscape of Nigeria. Nigeria is a country in the west of Africa. Luckily, I know where I come from and where we are, unlike the Malawians. We are 4 times bigger than Oregon, with 50 times more people. Yeah, we are pretty dense. To give you an idea, an average woman in Nigeria will have 5 children. I have 1. And I intend to stay at that. Well, this landscape, however, have served its people from time immemorial. The beautiful waterfalls and the river and the lakes have not only provided water, clean water for its people, but have served economic and social benefit. The green vegetation have provided not only habitats to its animals, but also have served social and economic benefit. As a matter of fact, Nigeria have the highest variety of butterflies in the world. Yeah, you should come and see us. That probably explains why I'm so colorful. Don't quote me. Unfortunately, all of this is gradually disappearing. We are losing all this beautiful biodiversity and rich landscape because of intense pressure and because of the wicked problem of climate change that affects every one of us. We are all in trouble. These have put pressure on our land, and as you can see, that lady up there is trying to cut down that only tree on the landscape because about 70% of Nigeria still depend on firewood for cooking. These have caused a serious social and economic crisis. So Nigerians want their landscape back. They want their landscape to go back to providing them with habitat for their unique animals. They want their landscape to go back to providing them with healthy soil. They want their landscape to go back to providing them with clean water. To achieve this, we'll have to restore what is gone and conserve what is left, right? Isn't it? But to us, restoring and conservation is much more than just planting trees and bringing back the lions. We want a landscape conservation plan that would not only bring back these lions, but help to create a space for them to move across boundaries, to move across jurisdictions. We want a landscape conservation plan that would create resilience in the landscape such that even when the landscape is affected by any disaster, it can bounce back to being healthy. You want a conservation plan that will provide multiple purposes for the people of Nigeria. We want a conservation plan that would collaborate. Every actor in the landscape can collaborate to make decisions. That is what we desire. This can only be achieved by using a framework that is at landscape scale conservation. So that was me a couple of months ago. Before coming to WFI, I was overwhelmed and had all sorts of ideas of what landscape scale conservation would mean. But I came to WFI and zoomed out and connected, as Shadia would tell us to do, and the idea of landscape scale became much more clearer. Let me share my experience with you, the lessons I've learned. Just a little bit, though, because, if I'm going to tell you everything, it will take us hours and days. in my 6th month, I have learned that indigenous knowledge play a huge role in landscape conservation. Yeah. You will agree with me that the Native Americans of the Blue Mountains have used their local knowledge passed to them from generations to restore and conserve their land. The local people know. They know. I have learned that with science, calculations and formulations, we can assess and validate and predict and even identify what to plant where and how much of what to be where. We can even manipulate our ecosystem to suit that connection and resilience we seek. I have learned that even though landscape scale means a large area, we can use small area. Small areas as small as your backyard. We can use that through partnerships to get involved and connect these landscapes. We won't get lions in your backyard, don't worry. I've learned in my 6 months that by partnerships with public and private people, we can use innovations to train large landowners and help them to get the best use of their land and align that with conservation at landscape scale. Well, all of this is huge, and so we require money, isn't it? So in 6 months, I learned that by using cost-share initiatives and donations and grants and from government and from corporate individuals and through partnerships and even sales from proceeds of forest products or landscape products, we can achieve this landscape scale conservation. Yeah. But every landscape is unique. Every landscape, every region, every country have their own unique peculiarities, and Nigeria is not an exception. We have our realities and resources. Nigeria have paucity of data. We don't have information on soil and water, so it's difficult to know what to put where. Our land is highly fragmented. We have intense population density. We do not have fund, although we have the second largest GDP in Africa, but we don't have budget for conservation projects, sadly. We have poor land tenure system, and most of our youth are unemployed. But then we have resources too. We have a strong youth dominant. Over 60% of the population in Nigeria is young people. Yeah. Everybody needs to diversify. They have the need to diversify their income. We have strong traditional values to our landscape. We are culturally tied to our landscapes. There's increasing awareness about environmental issues. Everybody knows that the climate is changing. And in Nigeria, there is a growing number of professionals like me that are curious about landscape scale and natural resources. I pulled this together and I designed a framework that can work for people that are looking forward to work in the landscape of Nigeria. To approach landscape scale conservation in Nigeria, as a practitioner, you will use traditional knowledge, local knowledge from the people, and then validate that with science. This will promote sustainable management of your resources. And what you get is a landscape scale conservation agenda that is ecologically viable. To approach landscape conservation in Nigeria, you will use the needs, you consider the needs and the interests of verified landowners. This will help you overcome the challenge of poor land tenure system and the challenges of insecurity. And it helps promote social interaction and culture. What you will get is a landscape conservation agenda that will be socially acceptable. To approach landscape scale conservation in Nigeria, you will use the efforts from experts like me and volunteers. And in that process, maybe train young people and use that to provide employment for them. which results to an improving income and livelihood on these landscapes. And what you get is a landscape that is economically feasible and impacting. To approach landscape scale conservation in Nigeria, you use grants and donations and partnerships from maybe foundations that give scholarships. And this will promote partnerships among stakeholders. And what you will get is a landscape conservation agenda that will be financially possible. Example of what can happen in Nigeria is backyard habitat, backyard permaculture garden projects that aims to promote healthy soil in the valley that will be incentivized through scholarships of children of participants. Another example will be a riparian buffer project that aims to promote quality of water and promote quality of water for wildlife, and that will be incentivized through cost share initiatives. Well, from here on, I hope to advance my career and get better as a researcher. I hope to deepen my conservation planning skills. I hope to create a structure to implement all of these initiatives I've learned. I hope to build and leverage on the partnerships and network I've earned here in the Pacific Northwest. All of this is huge and can be very overwhelming if you let it. But I gained strength in the word of Mother Teresa. She said, and I quote, "We can do no great things, only small things with great love." I want to appreciate my host that have made Portland really, really, really comfortable for me. She made her house a home for me. I want to appreciate Shadia Duheri. I want to appreciate every other member of the World Forestry Institute. I want to appreciate my fellow colleagues all from all over the world, the new families I've earned in the last 6 months. Thank you all for listening.